All right. Hello, everyone. Um, my name is Kelly Anderson Dirks, and I'm going to be going over my draft dissertation proposal called Late Career Women, Job Satisfaction, Job Transition, and Onboarding. That's my working title as of this time. Perhaps I'll come up with something snappier as we go, but right now it seems descriptive and to the point, so I'm going to stick with that right now. This is a proposal for Dr. Raj Beeke and Dr. Stacy Dean for DBA 814. So for an introduction to my topic, right now there are currently more women that are in the U.S. workforce than at any previous point in history. That fact, when you also look at that there are increased costs to living, healthcare is particularly expensive right now. There are many people who are working longer than the generations before that. If you add that to the fact that women on average live longer than men, and there's evidence that shows that women make less money throughout the course of their career than men do. When you put all of that together, that really shows to me that there is a need to better understand what's happening at the tail end of women's careers. What does that look like? And how can we better understand it so that we can provide a better work experience for those women and for the places that employ those women. So the background of my topic is going to start out with some statistics from the U.S. Labor Department. That's proving a little challenging thus far because the way that I'm defining late career doesn't line up neatly with Labor Department, kind of where they break different age categories. So still working through a little bit about that piece, but that is how I would like to start. The theoretical frameworks that are going to be covered and further developed as we go here. Career development theory is currently my favorite and most impactful theoretical framework that I'm looking at. Adult development theory is also going to play a role, as well as really feeling to me that there's an underpinning throughout the entire proposal of feminist theory, specifically taking that in the context of the workplace, right? Looking at glass ceilings, gender discrimination, pay discrimination, et cetera, really kind of have that embedded underneath the whole work. For the review, these are the buckets that I want to have included. I'm not necessarily set on the order in which they go. To me, this is a pretty logical flow, but I'm not completely locked into that yet. I'm going to start out with my job satisfaction literature. Then I think it makes sense to me to roll into career development theory. Why do people, if they're not satisfied, are they transitioning careers? So kind of job satisfaction to career development theory into job transition. Within job transition, I do want to talk about, that's where I think at this point it makes sense for me to embed some of my work on encore careers, which is really, if you're not familiar with that term, it's really where you are seeking a change in career that is focused on purpose and meaning. And really trying to seek that out in your career. A bridge career is different than an encore career. A bridge career is specifically a transition to retirement. You have a role that you've had, and now we're going to put you in this temporary role essentially to bridge the gap between full-time and retirement. I want to talk about onboarding. That's a new variable that's been added. I'm really intrigued by that. I've not had enough of a chance to read in depth about onboarding, but that I think is probably where I'll put that section. And then from there, I'm going to transition into some of the different age and gender pieces. Specifically, age is diversity is a growing field of literature. Age discrimination has been around for a while. And then looking at gender discrimination to kind of wrap things up as far as the review of literature is concerned. As far as the purpose statement, when I look at differences in earning power, the fact that women have short-term exits of the workforce, oftentimes for family or childcare obligations, women right now are in a position where they need to work longer than their male counterparts to have the same financial security into retirement and beyond. national trends right now about working longer, living longer. We're currently coming out of a pandemic, is really going to further illustrate that women are going to be in a position where they need to remain in the workforce longer than previous generations have done so. So the purpose of this work is really to better understand the experience of those late career women. My problem statement, I really do see this research as an opportunity to uniquely add to the career development literature. That is not a space that has really delved into women specifically, not a lot on the late career pieces. So really think it could add to the literature there. I'm going to specifically be looking at the fields of business and education. When it comes to what late career means, as far as how I will be defining that, that is not consistent throughout the literature. And so the working definition that I am proposing is when a woman describes herself as being in the last 10 to 15 years of her professional career. I also think it's going to be important, and probably will have some continued dialogue and have had some good debate with some of my classmates about adding to that definition women over 65 who do not intend to retire. I think there are some interesting pieces that may come out of work for those who are over 65 who do not show an intention to retire. I think there's some interesting pieces that could come out there, and so I feel at this time like I would like to include that, but I'm still working through that piece a little bit. So this work is going to look at people who are in their primary careers, second or third careers, but is not going to be including volunteer or any type of volunteer. It will be paid work only. And the study is specifically going to understand the circumstances surrounding job satisfaction, job transition, and onboarding for late career women. That is the problem that I'll be looking to research. My question right now, the job satisfaction survey, there are a variety of tools that measure job satisfaction. This is the one that is my leading contender right now as far as a pre-validated tool that I could use. And so I want to know how late career women are reporting their levels of job satisfaction. So 3 of my alternative hypotheses are listed below. I think there will be a statistically significant difference between the reported job levels of satisfaction between late career women and women generally. I do think there's going to be a statistically significant difference in the reported levels of job satisfaction between those late career women who have remained in a primary career and those who have had the opportunity to transition into an encore career. And then my third alternative hypothesis is that I think there will be a statistically significant difference on the reported levels of job satisfaction between really looking at financials, right? Those who report being financially stable versus those who report financial instability is going to be a significant difference, statistically significant difference in job satisfaction. So some of the other questions that have been percolating for me over the past 8 weeks in this course really are kind of blurring into more of a perhaps mixed method space, but right now I'm intrigued about wanting to know about job transitions while in a late career. So, what are the reasons, primary reasons that you either have transition jobs or are considering? I want to know more about if that new position that they've transitioned to is an encore career, what aspects of the job they transitioned to were most attractive. I want to know if they've been really able to find greater meaning or purpose. Is this encore career, is that a real thing, or is it just kind of made up? I've read a couple articles that talked about, is it a dream job or a trap was the headline of that article in the Harvard Business Review. I want to know transferable skills. I'd like to know what late career women think are the skills that they bring to positions, to the workforce. And I want to know about the impact if they've transitioned to an encore career. What was the impact on their job satisfaction? I want to know more about challenges for them with job transitioning in a late career. And then I've got 2 questions focused about onboarding as a late career woman. Was there anything in the onboarding process that was geared towards late career employees? And, if they could do an onboarding process that would be really impactful, what would be important to include in that process? As far as the significance of the research is concerned, employee satisfaction has been shown to be an important part of the strategy of a competitive organization. Really focusing on employee satisfaction as part of organizational performance can be an important part of any business or corporation. So additionally, when I talk about the significance of the research, when I'm looking at the job satisfaction piece specifically, there's quite a bit of mixed research about whether or not job satisfaction is actually looks like the traditional you. So you start out with very high levels of job satisfaction when you're in the middle of your career, often family obligations, sometimes people's careers are plateauing for a variety of reasons, it goes down. And then towards the end of your career goes back up again. And one article in particular that I read talked about the findings were pretty consistent for that if you just got rid of the women. Like something about the women in the sample was the source of the mixed findings. And so to me, that was incredibly interesting, right? Like the answer can't just be throw out the women because then my shape doesn't look right, right? No, it has to be, let's study those women more and find out why that may or may not be the case. So that will be a significant impact of the research, hopefully. I do think that there was a lack in the age research specific to gender. There was a lot out there about age, mostly age discrimination, but also recently more of looking at age as an aspect of diversity. But there wasn't a lot that overlapped gender into that age space. Additional items of significance, I do think there are HR implications to this work, specifically when we're getting into the aspects of job transitioning and the onboarding. I think there might be some pieces there that would be important for HR. And I also think that I had talked about age as a variable of diversity. So those are what I see as the significance of this research. As far as methodology is concerned, I really have two options right now that I haven't fully decided about, leaning certainly in the direction of option one, but haven't completely crossed option two off the board. Option one is a fully quantitative survey methodology using the job satisfaction survey that I already referenced, in addition to an additional questionnaire that would be developed by me, really asking questions about gaps in employment, job transitioning, onboarding, some of the questions that I went over previously, really working that out and doing it from an entirely quantitative survey methodology. My other option would be a mixed method. I'd keep the job satisfaction piece, but then I would ask those who have completed that survey whether or not they have had a job transition in their late career and if they would be willing to be involved in a participant, a follow-up question, follow-up interview with the researcher. And then from there would be an opportunity to do some in-depth interviews with those participants to really deeply understand the experience from them through their eyes and through their lens. So strongly leaning towards option number one, but have not crossed off option number two yet. As far as my assumptions, limitations, and delimitations are concerned, I'm going to assume that women are going to be willing to complete my survey. I'm going to assume that they will answer those questions honestly and they will do so in a timely manner. I'm going to assume that these women will be willing to forward to other women who are in the late career, who meet the criteria of late career. I'm going to assume that an online survey tool is an appropriate data collection method. And then I'm also going to assume that my proposed definition of late career is going to include the appropriate individuals that are in my target population. So those are my assumptions. As far as limitations are concerned, I will be limited by the fact that I'm using a pre-validated survey tool. So essentially not being able to perhaps ask additional questions outside of that tool. So that would be a limitation. I'm also going to be limited by the fact that this study is going to be conducted, gosh, I was going to say just after, but possibly during the global COVID-19 pandemic, which clearly the CDC has said that older individuals, of which I am studying, are at higher risk. And so what has happened, what is happening globally with that pandemic, as well as what has happened as far as employment and higher unemployment right now, is something that may be a limitation of the study. Okay, delimitations. This study is going to be limited to only those individuals who are in the last 10 to 15 years of their professional career, or those folks over 65 who are not planning to retire. Another delimitation that is going to be limited to only women and female identified individuals. It is going to be restricted to the fields of business and education, and it's also going to be restricted to those living and working in the United States. As far as ethical considerations are concerned, I plan to obtain informed consent prior to starting the data collection. The participation in the study will be voluntary, and participants can cease their participation at any time. I do not see any harm that will be done by the research to the participants. They will be able to do the survey anonymously, and so there's no issues as far as confidentiality is concerned, and IRB approval will be secured before beginning of the collection of the research. And then I just want to conclude with my references, and I will scroll through these quickly. And just thank you for listening to my presentation. Any and all feedback is appreciated. Thank you.